everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Mastering Dungeons, your favorite tabletop role-playing game news, game design, and all the talks. I am here with the very excited Teos Abadia. Hey, Teos. Ooh, you're holding up all the good stuff there.
Yeah, I got the two Forgotten Realms books, which I have to say, overall positive impression.
Speaking of hoping for, we hope to give you all of the exciting news and answers to questions and gameplay. We're gonna do the question section, and we're going to give you news, and then we're going to do our one-on-one play of Baker's Dozen Part 2. We'll see how far we get today. But before we jump in, we always keep watch. We call this the D&D Bologna scale. Teos often talks about seeing D&D Bologna being sold in Spain back in the 80s or 90s.
80s, yeah.
And so we keep a track of how far does D&D push into this realm of normal people space. We've got three to bring you today. The first comes from merchoid.com, and Sam DeCivis on Bluesky set us up with this. It is, Teos, a large D12 that you can separate, and when you pull the top off, there is room for an egg in this. And the top that you pull off is a salt shaker. So, you want a hard-boiled egg for lunch, a little salt on it, you got it all there in your D12.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's worth the $43. That's a win right there. You have that on the side of that D20 D&D logo, Eggo, or whatever, waffle maker, I mean. That's what you want. That's what you want for breakfast.
Yep. So we got that. That's a 3 on the bologna scale, maybe?
Yeah, that's pretty limited. I don't think, grandma's finding that one at the store, but yeah.
Well, grandma might like her nails done.
Sure.
So did you know that if you have nails and $70 or so, you can get DnD Press-On Nails from a company called Nailsicist.
Great name.
They have licensed D&D Press-On Nails coming in varieties and patterns such as Sword and Shield, Strahd the Dark Lord, Vecna the Archlich, Mimic and Treasure, Mind Flayer, Black Pudding, and other class and dragon colors.
Yeah, they are amazing, and especially because you can get them all together. If you just can't make up your mind, you can 10% off. So, they pass the savings on to you, but the Dungeons and Dragons collection at $1,050 is great. Or just get the Book of Vile Darkness collectibles box, which of course is included in the $1,050. But you can get just that box for your Lee Press-On Nails for the lovely $219. D&D Brush On Glue, extra strong. Yeah, they'll give you that. Branded sticky tabs, $14. But otherwise, they're pretty sweet. I mean, if you got the D&D Black Pudding or Silver Dragon or any of these, like you would enjoy these across many different events and evenings, and they're pretty cool looking. I have to admit, that's pretty sweet.
And one of the most amazing times of one's life could be their wedding, and they might get all fancy, have a egg holder on every table, get your press-on nails done, and if you are so inclined, have your D&D wedding cake. People magazine actually covered Alexis Oltmans, the head cake decorator at Sugar Jones, who has been sharing D&D inspired wedding cakes. This baker began playing D&D at our local library last year. Big fan of Dimension 20, apparently. So started making cakes inspired by D&D, including class-based cakes, such as a rogue cake bound by chains with a golden lock and a dagger and a key on the cake as well. What do you think, Teos?
They're great. They're great. I'm glad to hear, apparently it's been a big hit for the baker on TikTok. And it's just another great, all these are great examples of companies that see the value, right, in linking themselves to D&D, that may give them an audience and an edge and maybe premium pricing. So that's good. That all shows an ecosystem of, of gamers being out there in the general world, right? They're not just found on some particular place, and that a place like, an outfit like People Magazine would want to cover it is great, right? They think there's some relevance and understanding of it. That's what you and I talk about, right? That idea of having that larger relevance, that larger place. And I think that People Magazine particularly really does end up on that DnD Bologna scale, because random people will pick up People Magazine digitally, or at the dentist or something like that, where it probably still exists, and see this, right, and have some interaction with it and think about D&D in a way they might not have. And that's exactly what can lead someone to just saying, like, I'm here at Barnes and Noble and I will pick this up for my grandkid or whatever.
Well, speaking of a D&D ecosystem, we've got a wide range of listeners and viewers who like to talk to us sometimes. And so we'll take questions and comments. And someone via YouTube, someone named JP Moon 86, had this question in reference to episode 265, where we mentioned that perhaps Wizards of the Coast doesn't want to create new subclasses rather than redesigning old ones. And so JP Moon 86's question is this: if not new or updated subclasses, what should designers put their time into? I bought both new FR Realms books for primarily the new character options. Should Wizards just commit to scaling back and release fewer products overall? Is the system getting too bloated? It's the same issue as Magic the Gathering. Some existing players feel there's already enough, or the pace of release is too high, but the company has an incentive to keep producing more new products. Sales and new player numbers keep reinforcing that course of action until suddenly maybe they don't. There are lots of adventure modules already as well. Seems like many groups already have a backlog of ones to play. So TLDR, what should Wizards of the Coast designers be spending their time on, if not subclasses? Ooh. And this really is the $1 billion question, right? Yeah. For the brand. This is the business question that drives the game design engine. Without a better sense of cost, revenue, sales, other numbers, everything I'm about to say is complete speculation. But the more important
question... Wait, are we
question,
on the Lorecast?
Yeah, I think so. Exactly. What should the designers and the business managers of Wizards of the Coast be looking to prioritize? Should they serve the players? Should they serve the dungeon masters, who are the ones that bring the players to the table? Should it serve the overall D&D fan base? Should it serve Hasbro shareholders? Should it serve a potential fan base of people that might be interested but aren't playing the game yet? Or is there some other segment of the population that should be being served? And I don't know. That's an opinion question. Some might say if you serve the players, you are serving all of those people. Some might say if you serve the game masters, you're serving all of those people. Some might say if you serve the shareholders, you are in the long run serving all of those people, because it'll be a brand that's still around, in 10 years. So what do you think, Teos?
Those are big, heady questions. I love it. I'll start way back at the specifics around the comment on subclasses, right? We said in regards to Unearthed Arcana kind of showing us redone 2014 subclasses. I'll just say, on my personal thought on that is, at this point we have so many subclasses, it kind of doesn't matter how many more we create. Some people will go for it, as our listener said, hey, I'm interested in more character options. Well, that's a type you can give them. Redone, new, I don't know that it matters. I personally feel like there are just so many that more, fewer, it doesn't matter. We've reached a point where you're bathing in them. And or whatever, if you want to put a more positive spin, there are lots of great options to choose from, right? Take your pick, but there are tons. And so more, it won't make a big difference in terms of, your D&D Beyond interface has to deal with it, or the number of books you have open, you have to deal with it. We're just at that point. I think that question of what to create, I'm sort of surprised to somewhat see that it looks like the equation is almost changing a bit in books like this. And there's that sense of maybe it's changing further when you see like the digital releases that have been added, where one is more player, one is more adventure focused. The Asterian's Guide, whatever it was called, Hunger, and the Netheril supplement, and those are just digital beyond bits. But that idea of separating out, what has seemed to work for me in 2014, what I've seen work for the brand, has been bundling all the things together. Tomb of Annihilation is a great adventure. It comes with essentially a setting guide in it. Like if you just wanted to run a Chult adventure, I'd say this is way better a supplement than the old Chult supplement that was made for second edition. This is just better DM ready information plus an adventure you can run. So it's better for the DM than an old approach to products. It is also has some things for players, magic items, backgrounds, some things like that, enough that many people bought it, right? And then a large, splashy release such that anybody in touch with D&D was interacting in some way with Tomb of Annihilation. Might have been the Stream of Annihilation or any of these things, but you felt like you were part of it, and you probably wanted to buy it. And then if it sat on your shelf and you didn't actually do anything with it, you still probably felt like you were tied into the zeitgeist and the moment, and it probably felt rewarding, and you wanted to buy the next thing. And I think we've lost that magic a bit. And I would suggest that going back to that magic would be effective, or some version of that, right? What I don't think has worked is the old, take 4th edition, Martial Power 2, right? Like where it's really just if you're a player, and it's more of what you already know you have, and it's just you're building in declining interest, right? You just know fewer people than bought Martial Power 1 will buy this book just by virtue of the type of product you're creating. And I don't think we should return to those days.
Okay. If the business model plays out where you are going to make more money from Martial Powers 2 based on the cost to create, based on market, based on all of that, even though you may not be capturing the community, do you still make that book?
Maybe, but I think looking at 4th edition, the deluge of class features that were kind of provided solely to players did not pay out. And similarly, in previous editions, we were told that sending out a bunch of adventures did not pay out. Eventually, we were overwhelmed. The 5th edition mode seemed to be pretty darn effective, but it relies on a number of factors, including continually bringing people into the hobby. So it's tricky. It's not just the product, right? Martial Power 2 might work if enough people come in that go, oh, I didn't buy Martial Power 1. This looks great. It's the latest one. I'll pick it up. But often that's not what happens in your hobby space, right? It's the previous group. Do they want the next thing, right? The typical thing is you release an RPG core book and then you say, and here's the Book of Undead. And some number of DMs go, I don't actually really like adventures with undead in them, so I'll skip this one. And then you release, Book of the Fae, and some number of DMs go, well, I don't really like Fae. And also some number go, I'm still going through Book of the Undead. And that's the problem in a nutshell of our RPG industry, right? D&D 5e is the one that's broken the rules by continuously bringing in people and finding ways, I think, to bundle everything together that made it an enticing buy for the majority of the audience continuously.
So what you're saying is make all of the things, but make them around a theme.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I think that sounds good. I think that's a good working approach that you could, play with, right? A good starting point as your strategy.
Okay. When would you start working on 6th edition?
Yesterday. But folks know who listen to this regularly, I am biased. I love new editions because they just come full of new goodness, new advancements, new ideas, new everything, and it's a giant reset for the whole hobby to get interested and lean back into it. So I'm a huge fan. It has problems on the budgetary side, I think that at this point, D&D has committed to 2024 for some amount of time, and you can't just jump into 6e. So what I would probably want to do is breathe some interest into 2024. They chopped a bunch of subsystems out, like Downtime. They haven't done a whole lot with the new things they introduced, like Bastions. So doing something that really pushes, either brings back and retools old systems, adds new systems, or refines the ones that it provided and makes them usable, could bring some real energy into it. But around big themes, like I think the hobby needs big D&D themes to get some of that old fire back in it. Right? We need to know that the theme is, whatever it might be, Witchlight or Curse of Strahd or whatever. Like, you need that big banner being waved of what the story is, where everybody knows. Yeah, you ask any person, they don't play D&D, but they know. Oh yeah, right now it's Tomb of Annihilation. I think we need that back versus I can't remember what was released. And we are about to hit a piece, a patch of time, it seems, Shawn, where nothing's coming out. Right? There's nothing that's been announced for a while. We've got an Eberron book that's actually delayed, which is our next release. And then it's like doldrums for a while. So one presumes the team is madly at work behind the scenes preparing whatever comes next, but there's going to be a lull, which could function as a reset. We'll see.
Would you sign up for the design team dropping everything and working on K-pop Demon Hunters seasons and stuff?
No, I think a product like that is great to release because it brings in an audience, but that's an auxiliary thing. It's not your central focus, right? Exodus RPG, anything like that. Those are opportunities to get people interested and bring them in from a different corner. But your bread and butter is your bread and butter, right? Like, it's big, awesome, bold D&D themes and adventures, neat source books that everybody's excited about, and trying to deliver on that. They delivered on the starter set, right? That one, I think we were all a little worried the starter set's coming late. Is it going to be any good? And I think most people would say that you can certainly see the argument for best starter set ever. Stranger Things set was pretty strong. These FR books are pretty strong. So hopefully the next thing, right, we'll see.
Okay. Well, that was our question. Thank you so much for that. You can hit us up wherever you listen to this show, on social media, etc. Or you can email us your question at masteringdnd@gmail.com. But now let's jump quickly into our news and commentary section, starting with official D&D support for Demiplane.
Ooh.
So Demiplane was the indie game alternative to D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
Right? It was founded by the founder of D&D Beyond, essentially. And they started racking up a number of non-5e, non-D20 type games, including Pathfinder, some of the Free League games,
Darkness,
some of the White Wolf game, World of Darkness games, etc., etc. And they did have a 5e section, but all it had was the SRD and then some 5th edition compatible products. Some of the Cobalt Press stuff, some Ghostfire Gaming stuff was there. But it was all it wasn't branded, let's put it that way. It just said 5e, and there you go.
Yeah.
And I was messing around there the other day. I use it sometimes to do some searches, and I noticed that there was a different 5e section that had Dungeons and Dragons instead of 5e. And Demiplane also announced that it was an official 5e Nexus. Nexus is the term for how they provide RPGs on the platform. So it also should be noted that recently, or within the last couple of years, One Bookshelf, which is also Roll20, either partnered with or purchased Demiplane, meaning they're all one company now. Now, Roll20 could always sell D&D products because they have an agreement with Wizards. But now you can buy things from Roll20 for your Roll20 library and be connected to the Nexus on Demiplane, or vice versa. the recently released Forgotten Realms books can now be purchased on both Roll20 and Demiplane, and that will apply to either location. You can also buy these titles through Drive-Thru, which is also owned by One Bookshelf, which is also a part of Roll20 and Demiplane.
Yeah, and I'm really curious whether they have an official, whether Demiplane has an official deal agreement to release them there, or whether the company just concluded, look, we're one company, we have 3 platforms, we are already have an agreement to carry the books. These are just platforms so we can put them anywhere. Like there's no legal basis to not do it. I'm curious whether it was, which of those scenarios was it? Or did they just figure, well, at this point, we're all so connected that it's fine? And so we're going to do it? Or did they actually like talk to Wizards? Because it was clear that before, Demiplane was seen as competitive, and that's, I'm sure they asked for the 5e stuff and were told no, or here's this unbelievable price that it would cost. This is conjecture on my side, but one would imagine this had to have happened. And so that's why Demiplane was carrying the SRD. But at this point, it really is like just a platformer extension. And Roll20 has been doing this, right? You can buy the Cosmere RPG on Drive-Thru, and it unlocks in both Roll20 and Demiplane. So it's pretty neat. And you and I talked about how, like for Daggerheart, right? It's really nice how in Demiplane, you can use that nice Demiplane interface to make your character, and then that just ports right over into your Roll20 game, which is fantastic. So it's nice to see this for 5th edition. No question, it's great for the fans, but I'm curious how this works and whether, is there any difference, right? Like, could a book come out down the line that is on one platform or not, versus the other, right? Roll20, but not Demiplane? Or is it just from here on out, we're going to see everything in both places? That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's important to note as well that while Demiplane has character builders for their different nexi, they do not have a character builder for 5th edition. So you can buy the Forgotten Realms or the Player's Handbook or the Dungeon Master's Guide or the Monster Manual on Demiplane, but it does not port into any character builder at this time. Although, if you click on Create a Character, they give a big, long bar that shows the different games you can create a character for. Dungeons & Dragons is on that bar, but right now you cannot click it. So I don't know if that means there's something coming, if it's just there for no reason, or if they put all their games there, because some of the other games there also cannot be clicked to go to any character builder. Okay. So it'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on.
Very.
Also interesting to keep an eye on is Amazon Prime, because they have released the first episode of The Mighty Nein from Critical Role. This is the new series that followed Vox Machina. Vox Machina on Amazon has one more season to go. And so now we are getting the first episode of Mighty Nein. You can watch it for free as well on YouTube.
Yeah.
A new episode will release every week. I have not watched this, Teos.
I did during my lunchtime. Because it's, the first episode free on YouTube. I was like, sure. And I had me some lunch while watching it. It was great. It starts out with a super awesome, high octane, what's going on action. Who are the good guys, the bad guys? It looked great. It was super fun. And the episode ended, and I literally was like, I want to watch the next one, which they're releasing them over time. So even if I owned Amazon Prime, which I don't, I could not have watched the next one yet. But I was like, sign me up. I can't wait to watch episode 2. And how incredible that Critical Role has not one, but 2 shows on Amazon Prime. That is unbelievable. They're even overlapping this year. That is incredible. And on our show, we were discussing, or on our Discord, our Patreon Discord, we were discussing what, the question came up, why hasn't Wizards been able to do this? And it's like, well, Wizards operates at a huge scale. And they also are not actually as connected as Critical Role is to animators and voice acting. And all this
Right.
process. It's actually a lot easier for Darrington Press Critical Role to all do this than it is for Wizards, right? So yeah, it's an interesting to see Critical Role so far ahead and in an area that we would have assumed D&D might have filled, right?
Mhm.
But not since the 80s cartoon and that one Amazon Prime animated piece.
That's true. Well, coming along right after this news, Collider had an exclusive story on a D&D TV series uh, that is supposedly being worked on by Netflix, set in the Forgotten Realms, being produced by Shawn Levy. So in this interview, Levy says D&D is in development at Netflix. That's true. And I think that the reason it's taking so long and the reason why it's a challenging process is you're not adapting story IP. You're adapting a world and a lexicon and a spirit. But story needs to be invented largely from scratch, and it needs to be invented in a way that feels organic to everything that's great about D&D. And I've said this so many times that you could have a Curse of, not a Curse of Strahd, but like a Ravenloft series that followed the storyline of
Mm-hmm.
Ravenloft. And people would say, okay, yes, I recognize these elements of the story. I've seen this before. I've played this. I get it. But when you try to take a world that doesn't have a story, but it has an infinite number of stories that have been already played by an infinite number of people, it becomes much harder as the creator to say, what do we do that's going to capture everything?
Yeah, I mean, I hear that, but I think that's almost, it's like when you're given a box full of toys and you don't know what to choose. I could have also given you a box with just one toy. Is one better than the other? Like maybe because you have to write a story about that one thing in the box, but
Yeah.
at the same time, hey, look, you've got lots of ideas, and I think the Honor Among Thieves movie showed us you can just go with it, right? Like just develop a good story within a world, right? Stranger Things has done a ton for D&D. We all recognize that to some extent that's true, and it's not like it just said, hey, we're going to do stuff with kids in the 80s and created neat stories based off of that, right? And the D&D stuff is very light on influence. Everything they even name drop is sort of not necessarily accurate or super D&D-ish. They didn't care about the lore a whole lot, right? The mind flare, the Vecna, like none of these things are really tied into the story that deeply. And it doesn't matter. It all works, right? It's all super fun. And I just think like I don't know, like I don't buy this. Like just make a good story. And you can look at Star Wars, the same thing's true, right? When it's a good story, it's a great series. When it's a bad story, it suffers. It's not that hard. I mean,
It
it's
is that
hard, but
hard, though. It
yeah.
is that hard because for every Star Wars, for every Honor Among Thieves, which some people will say wasn't a success, for every one of those, you have five other ones that fail. Fail for so many
Yeah,
reasons. Fail because it's too generic. Fail
sure.
because it's too specific. So
Yeah,
it's fine to say, "Oh, look at this success," but
sure.
you also have to say, "Look at these 20 failures."
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, it's complex, right? Making a video game, making a TV series, a movie, those are all things that are hard for sure, and the failure rate is high. But that's the baseline you know going in. To then say I can't because there are too many possible ideas. I'm sorry. Like it's sort of like this thing about James Bond died. What do we do? I'm like they were all the same guy. I don't even like, we don't even know that we've established rules for this. And I think the same's true. Like you want to look at the Forgotten Realms, there are any number of cool places. Pick a spot. Pick great characters. Go with the themes that work, right? There are a lot of ways to do this. And at the end of the day, what you're responsible for is having a field that's pretty recognizably D&D, right? Honoring Among Thieves showed how it did that. And it's fun to watch. It's got a neat story. It's a great experience. That's the job. And you can look at the Critical Role cartoon, right? Are they representing Exandria in some amazing way? No. it's just really fun. And that's what the Critical Role Amazon shows are doing. Is they're a super fun experience. And yeah, there's some lore here and there, but it's really about the fun of it and the excitement. And that's go to the basics.
Yep.
But what I
So
did think, I was
okay.
going to say what I found interesting in this interview is there's all this discussion of, yeah, we're working on it. And he says, every day we're chipping away at its development at Netflix, right? It's that active. And then he's asked by the interviewer, Shawn Levy is asked, is this likely to move forward? And he gets the answer is just this, I really hope so. It's like, that's how tough this is, right? That even with all this active work, maybe it doesn't go forward. Oof.
Well, one brand game that is super active is Draw Steel. And MCDM has shared several exciting developments via their Patreon. First of all, we have the Codex. The MCDM virtual tabletop and DM hub is in development and slowly being released to playtesters and patrons. All members will get a playtest on November 28th, Black Friday. The Daily Entomb will be available for playtesting on that day. 3 encounters recently sent to Patreon subscribers will also be available in the Codex. So this is going to include character creation tools and the journal, which is the director's console that allows the director to show handouts, display images, reveal secret doors, place monsters, play sounds, etc. It also allows tracking for negotiations and montages. And the Codex is planned to be on Steam in early access next year. You could already wishlist it. And this is a premium experience, so it won't be free. But every PDF purchase of Draw Steel Rules provides a key to redeem it within the Codex. So if you got the digital PDF, you will also get the digital version via the Codex. What else is happening there?
Wow, a lot. I mean, that Codex news was really interesting because, to be honest, having been around this world a fair
Mhm.
bit, companies like Paizo have said, "Oh, I can't believe how D&D messed up that virtual tabletop. We'll be releasing one." And then they quietly shelve it because you know what? It's actually hard. And when MCDM, even though I love those people there, said they were releasing a virtual tabletop, I said, "Sure, you are. Okay." And I'm going to eat my words because they apparently not only are, but people are already playing with it. Like you could watch videos people are playing on the Codex, and it looks amazing. And I was at that, couldn't believe I fired up Steam and I put it on my wish list and saw the like cool look of it. And yeah, it's super exciting. And then, as if that's not enough, what they said was the Codex is going to have a marketplace where both MCDM and the community can offer releases for free and for sale. And I thought, oh, that's neat. Because one of these questions we always ask is how do these RPGs create a community? And here you've got a gathering point where you can see here are all the things that you can buy, right? That third parties are creating, that individuals are creating. Like, that's amazing. There aren't no news on how this will work exactly, but just that concept of having the marketplace in the Codex and it's on the Steam store, that is really cool.
And the final bit of news that MCDM released via this Patreon message is that their name for their mega adventure being developed is called Crack the Sun. The heroes are featured in an epic high-stakes world-spanning adventure showcasing the timescape with 5 levels of play across a bold, exciting storyline. This is a natural extension to an introductory campaign such as Daily Entomb. Draw Steel, of course, has 10 levels of play, each one consisting of 16 victories. So this is actually a huge amount of play in this one adventure. They gave a story summary. A village where all the residents vanish reveals a much greater danger. As the heroes find themselves in a strange land, they realize the dual nature of their foes and the secret plot that could undo all of reality across the timescape. MCDM announced that the managing director of the project is, drumroll please, that guy right there, Teos Abadia. Teos will be overseeing this project, and we already know some of the design team will include familiar names like Andy Demps, Paige Lightman, and Ben Heisler, Alan Patrick, Will Doyle, and Stacey Allen, as well as others. Crowdfunding for this adventure will begin in December. And how well it does can see how the future of Draw Steel will be. We'll see how the community comes out to support this first mega adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure working with all of the authors, with the team at MCDM. Super creative, really fun to sit down and just dream big with them. This is a big, bold adventure, and so getting into the both the creative side and then the nuts and bolts process side, right, of how to take the fun ideas and things like the monsters book of Draw Steel and the heroes book, and how to make a really great, big, bold adventure that really showcases the Draw Steel uniqueness of its story and having this timescape and different worlds that can overlap. Really very cool. And all of these authors are just amazing. So can't wait.
We jump from Draw Steel back to other media, where Amazon has announced that they're going to make a Warhammer 40K show and or movies. Games Workshop also announced this deal, which will allow Amazon to hire talent and make film and TV projects. Currently, a team of screenwriters is being put together. Games Workshop will spend 12 months working with Amazon to set the creative guidelines for the films and the series, and then production will proceed after that. And we have a link to the BBC news article in our show notes for that.
This strikes me as an example of that. Going back to that question of, why hasn't D&D released an animated series? And it's exactly because of this, right? Here's Games Workshop that cares so much about their IP. They foresee a year of just deciding how they'll work together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so important that the holy IP not be messed with, that it must be, we must have all our working guidelines in place. That'll take a year, and then we can start actually making the show. Good grief, right? And so it would not shock me at all if this Warhammer thing never happens, because at some point somebody, crosses the line or angers somebody, and they decide they can't work together, or Amazon just says this is too convoluted, see ya. And it's got to be a real relief to work with somebody like Critical Role that just says, hey, great story, we're putting it together, here it is. Obviously not that simple, but much closer to that than we need 12 months to decide our creative guidelines.
Yeah. And one is another company creating the stuff for you, and one is that you're creating your own stuff and just placing it up on this thing. So that, of course, as you mentioned, is a huge difference, because Critical Role is used to voice acting and used to working with animators through their video game voice work. So we'll see how it goes. One thing that's already going is Baldur's Gate Adventure Jam. We talked about it before, and now it has been released. This is a Roll20 contest where creators submitted adventures themed to Baldur's Gate. Those adventures are now available and being promoted by both Roll20 and Drive-Thru RPG. Our listener, Bent Goblin, sent us a copy of their creation called Fireworks in Baldur's Gate, using Forge of Foes for level scaling. And Ben Goblin was kind enough to mention our podcast as an inspiration. That adventure is set for levels 3 through 5 and centering on the sinister plans of the cult of the Fallen Star. Can the heroes stop tentacled abominations and save Baldur's Gate? Link to that in our show notes, and our Patreon member Weird Dave also has an adventure up entitled Raising of Three Graves. That's Razing, where the cult of the Dead Three, who venerate Bane, Baal, and Merkel, push the city into chaos as each faction of the cult tries for dominance. This adventure received a special mention on the Roll20 blog, also linked in our show notes. So for those of you who jumped on the bandwagon and wrote Baldur's Gate Adventures for the Adventure Jam, good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, congratulations. And it was great looking at both of those. They were fantastic and worth picking up. Mm-hmm. Shawn, this next story is one I got to recently mention to Johnson County Community College's sustainability program. I was a member who listens to us. So a member of the staff there listens to our show and had me come on virtually and speak with members of the community college, which was super cool. And I talked about sustainability in gaming. And one of the things I mentioned was this next story, which is about a D&D adventure being used to teach municipal ethics. So Isaiah Tannenbaum shared on LinkedIn that in 2022, he and two others created an ethics law-based D&D one-shot adventure. And the whole point of it, and it's entitled Escape from the Dinkins Building, it is teaching you ethics as you go through this adventure. This went live this year in New York City, being released to the Conflict of Interest board members and to all 300,000 New York City government employees. So you can see in our show notes the link to LinkedIn where it's announced, and then you can actually download Escape from the Dinkins Building by clicking on the link in our show notes. All of these links are too loud, but find them there.
Awesome. And that was a great creation. We have more stuff in our creator corner here, starting with the Beast RPG. Amazing D&D mind Chris Sims is part of this project, and it's currently on Kickstarter. The Beast RPG asks you to become a hunter who gains the power to protect humanity from terrifying titanic beasts. It is an RPG compatible with D&D 5e 2024. It is described as a very harsh, mysterious, fantastical world where the constant threat of titanic, almost godlike beasts impacts every waking moment of human life. One of the creators is, I don't know the first name. Last name is Midhall.
Aaron Midhall.
Aaron Midhall says we have a limited but still vast setting of magic, dream worlds, and constant myths hiding everything, drawing from everything from Scandinavian folklore to Princess, I can never say this right, Mononoke. What else is in this game, Teos?
Yeah, it's really great. We linked to the interview on wargamer.com, which, while being full of annoying ads, is otherwise a really, really good interview that highlights this idea of these enormous beasts that have been feeding off of the energy of three worlds coming together. And I love the world building that Chris Sims has done here. This idea of three worlds sort of woven together due to something that somebody did long ago to break the world. And those energies infusing these beasts and causing them to grow and become these enormous legendary creatures that stalk the earth. Chris also in the interview talked about the mechanics, and he is, one of the world's best monster creators. And so he talks about how working with 5th edition, it's not like one of these monsters is a CR20 creature. Instead, it functions as, say, 3 CR14 creatures. And so he has special mechanics that make a beast function as an incredibly fun boss challenge in this game. And so this looks to me like the kind of thing that is, you could back it just because of the amazing world. You could back it just because of the monster building and approach it, right? There's so many reasons why you might want to check this out. So I highly recommend folks take a look at that interview and at the Kickstarter. I think actually the interview does a better job of selling it than the Kickstarter page maybe. But it looks super, super cool. And Chris Sims is just a great person that, if you wanted to back someone because somebody is a great person, this is a good project for that too.
Yeah. Chris worked with me on a few projects for Ghostfire, including he developed many of the monsters and did a great job doing so. Awesome. So another tip of the hat to Chris, and good luck with Beast RPG. Check it out. EN World is launching Alpha Star Magazine. It promises sci-fi resources for your D&D game, and it is already live on BackerKit. Alpha Star will be a quarterly print and PDF magazine providing sci-fi content for 5e D&D and Level Up A5e. This magazine builds on their Void Runners Codex box set. Issue 1 will provide a combination of archetypes, heritages, cultures, destinies, a background, and technology items. Link to that in our show notes. What's Darrington Press up to, Teos, while we're here?
So something interesting, we saw Draw Steel with their Codex that involves a marketplace. On the other side, we saw Darrington Press send out in one of the recent emails a question of, have you made or are you planning an actual play, an adventure, crowdfunding project, or any other creative adventure involving Daggerheart or our other games? we'd love to know about it. Fill out the survey below so we can keep track of what you're making. And it's a Google Doc that I guess the idea is they want to sort of check out what's being created and maybe promote it. So it's, it was neat. It made me think like, oh, that's great. They recognize that there is this need to sort of have community and promote what's being done. But how do you gather, right? Maybe they'll create some site or something like that, because that's where that draw steel marketplace can be really key to pull it together somehow. But this is a good first step for them to see what's out there. So if you are creating things for Darrington Press Games, check that out. Link is in our show notes, and let them know what you're doing.
And speaking of Darrington Press, we are in almost to the last week of the Dungeons of Drakkenheim Daggerheart Kickstarter. As of this recording, there are 11 days to go. So the next Friday will be the last day. It is now over 300,000. And so, we're looking at that to see what interest there is in a Daggerheart community and what Daggerheart players want out of this new exciting game. So check that out. That was our news and commentary section here on Mastering Dungeons. I hope you enjoyed.